You haven't found your purpose yet because you've been looking in completely the wrong place. Every framework you've tried, every journal prompt, every follow your passion advice, it all assumes your purpose is out there waiting to be discovered. It isn't. And the cost of not knowing this is another decade of searching while your real life waits. In this video, I'll show you number one, why the find your passion model is scientifically broken and what the Vedic map of purpose actually says. Instead, number two, how to tell the difference between your real purpose and the one your parents, your culture, or your bank account conditioned you to want. Number three, why losing your sense of purpose at 40 isn't failure, it's a natural transition, and what to do when it happens. Let's get into it. A guy named Marcus left a comment on a purpose video a while back. He wrote, I'm 35 years old, been playing this character for 27 years. My 8-year-old self was forgotten. That line stopped me cold because he wasn't describing a lack of purpose. He was describing a burial. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, the real person got covered over by expectations, by survival, by the slow accumulation of who he had to be to get through the day. That's not a passion problem, that's an excavation problem. And the tools most people are using to solve it are designed for the wrong job. Researchers at Stanford and Yale have studied the Find Your Passion model for years. What they found is uncomfortable. Telling people to follow a pre existing passion doesn't help them find direction. It makes them more likely to quit when things get hard because they assume difficulty means they picked the wrong thing. That's the trap. The model teaches you that your purpose is a feeling you'll recognize, a spark, a calling, a lightning bolt of clarity. So you wait for the feeling, and when the feeling doesn't come, you assume something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. The Vedic framework for purpose, what's called dharma, doesn't start with passion. It starts with something much more specific, your svabhava. That word translates roughly as one's own nature, not your skills, not your interest, your quality of being, the particular way you engage with reality when nothing is forcing you to be otherwise. Think about the people in your life you describe as fully themselves, not the most successful, not the happiest necessarily, but the ones who seem to be operating from something real. There's a consistency to them, a texture. You can't quite name it, but you'd recognize it anywhere. That texture is svabhava, and dharmu, purpose, is what happens when that quality gets expressed in the world. Cal Newport, who studies mastery and career satisfaction, landed on something very similar from a completely different direction. He found that people who report having a strong sense of purpose almost never say they discovered it first and then pursued it. They built rare and valuable skills, got deeply engaged in their work, and the sense of purpose emerged from that engagement. Purpose followed mastery, not the other way around. The Vedic model would say, yes, exactly. Because you're not looking for a destination, you're cultivating a quality, and that quality, applied to almost any domain, becomes your purpose. The practical implication of this is significant. If how to find your purpose is the question you've been asking, the first thing to drop is the idea that the answer is a noun, a job title, a mission statement, a cause. The answer is a verb. It's a way of showing up, and you can start practicing that way of showing up today in whatever you're already doing. Takeaway, stop asking, what is my purpose? And start asking, what is my quality? The consistent way you engage when you're most fully yourself. One commenter put it this way: I think so many struggle with finding their purpose because they are under pressure to be financially successful in this pursuit. That single sentence contains the entire problem. When purpose has to pay, it stops being purpose and becomes a job application. And when your sense of self worth is tied to whether your purpose generates income, you can't think clearly about what your purpose actually is. The financial pressure colonizes the question. Bhakti philosophy has a concept for this: nishkama karmu, action without attachment to the fruit of the action. Most people hear that and think it means work for free or don't care about results. That's not it. It means do the action from your own nature, not from what you expect the action to produce. The quality of the action comes first. The outcome is secondary. Psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan spent decades building what's called self-determination theory. Their core finding: humans are most motivated and most alive when they're acting from intrinsic reasons, curiosity, meaning, genuine engagement, rather than extrinsic ones like money, status, or approval. When extrinsic motivators dominate, intrinsic motivation collapses. You can't feel your own signal through that much noise. So the question becomes, how do you separate your real purpose from the inherited one? The Vedic answer is not a quiz, it's a process of removal. You don't add clarity, you subtract interference. Try this. Think about the activities in your life where time disappears, not activities you think you should enjoy, not activities that impress people, the ones where you forget to check your phone, where an hour passes and it feels like 10 minutes. Now ask, what is the quality present in those moments? Not the activity itself, the quality. Is it precision, connection, creation, teaching, solving, making order from chaos? That quality is a signal from your svabhava. It shows up across different activities because it isn't about the activity, it's about you. Now ask a harder question. How much of what you call your purpose was handed to you? A parent who needed you to be practical, a culture that measures worth in productivity, a financial situation that made certain options feel impossible. These are real forces. They don't disappear just because you name them. But you can't distinguish your own voice from the chorus until you know which voices aren't yours. Writing helps here, specifically writing without an audience, not a journal you'd show someone, a document you'd delete, because the moment you imagine a reader, you start performing, and performance is the enemy of signal. Takeaway: your real purpose lives in the quality underneath the activity, not in the activity itself. Find the quality. The domain comes later. Here's something no purpose video talks about, and it matters enormously. The Vedic tradition never assumed one purpose for one lifetime. The ancient framework of the four ashramas, the four stages of life, describes purpose as something that naturally shifts as you move through life. The student stage, the householder stage, the stage of stepping back from worldly obligation, the stage of full inner focus. Each stage has its own dharma, its own quality of engagement. What was your purpose at 28 is not supposed to be your purpose at 48. That's not failure, that's the design. Neuroscience is finding something consistent with this. Around midlife, the brain's default mode network, the system involved in self reflection, identity, and meaning making, goes through a significant reorganization. The things that motivated you in your 30s start to feel hollow, not because you burned out, because your nervous system is literally reconfiguring what matters. The psychological research on this is robust. Eric Erikson mapped it, Dan McAdams mapped it. The brain at midlife is asking a different question than it asked at 25. The Vedic map named this transition 2,500 years ago. So, if you're someone who had a clear sense of direction in your 20s or 30s and now feels like the signal has gone quiet, you're not broken. You're between stages. The old Damu has completed its work. The new one hasn't declared itself yet. That gap is disorienting, but it's not empty, it's preparatory. What do you do in that gap? The Vedic answer is counterintuitive. You don't search harder, you get quieter. The signal of the next stage of purpose is subtle at first. It gets drowned out by urgency, by the pressure to have an answer, by the fear that if you don't figure this out immediately, you've wasted your life. One of the most honest things I've seen written about this came from a common thread. As someone who has spent countless hours, days, weeks, months, years obsessing over this topic, the obsession itself becomes the obstacle, because obsession is a form of grasping, and you can't receive something you're gripping for. The practice in the gap is simpler than most people want it to be. It's paying attention, noticing what pulls your attention without effort, noticing what conversations you leave, feeling more alive, noticing what problems you find yourself thinking about without anyone asking you to. These are not random, they are the early signals of the next phase of your Dharma. All three of these ideas point to the same conclusion. How to find your purpose is ultimately the wrong question, not because purpose doesn't matter, but because finding implies it's somewhere else. It implies you need to travel to get to it. The Vedic model, and increasingly the psychological research, converge on this. Your purpose is not a destination, it's a quality of presence. It's what's left when you stop performing. It's what emerges when the layers of conditioning, fear, and inherited expectation get thin enough that your actual nature can show through. That's not a one time discovery, it's a practice. And it starts not with a bigger search, but with a quieter one. Takeaway: if your sense of purpose has gone quiet, don't search harder, get quieter. Notice what pulls your attention without effort. That's the signal of what comes next. That practice of getting quiet enough to hear your own signal. It sounds simple, but most people hit a wall with it because the conditioning runs deep and it's hard to see your own blind spots from inside them. If you've genuinely tried to work through this on your own, read the books, done the journaling, tried the frameworks, and you still can't separate your real signal from the noise, the fastest way through is a direct conversation. I do free 15 to 30-minute calls with people who are stuck on exactly this. No pitch, no agenda, just a focused conversation where we look at where you actually are, what's actually blocking you, and what the specific next step looks like for your situation. You'll walk away with that clarity whether we ever work together or not. The link to book is at dailymindreset.com your consultation. It's in the description below. If this way of thinking about purpose is new to you, subscribe. This channel goes deeper into these ideas every week. Drop a comment below. What's one moment this week where time disappeared on you? What were you doing?